The air in our kitchen, once infused with warmth and the aroma of shared meals, now felt cold and unfamiliar. Everly's eyes, usually a reflection of the love we had built over 21 years, now held a distant gaze as she uttered the words that shook my world. "I think we should consider opening up our marriage," she said, her voice almost a whisper, as if testing the waters of an idea she knew would not sit well with me. I set down my fork, the clatter echoing through the silence that had settled between us. "Open marriage?" I repeated, a mix of disbelief and hurt in my voice. "What brought this on, Everly?" She sighed, avoiding eye contact, her fingers tracing patterns on the tablecloth. "I just feel like we've grown apart, and maybe exploring other connections could bring us back together. It's not about love. It's about rediscovering ourselves." The words hung heavily in the air, and I struggled to comprehend the unraveling of a union I had considered unbreakable. "What about us, Everly? What about the life we've built together?" I asked, the knot in my stomach tightening. Everly met my gaze, her eyes betraying a hint of remorse. "I don't want to lose you, but I also don't want to feel trapped. Can't we find a way to make this work?" The fragile intimacy we had left seemed to disintegrate further, the walls of our shared history crumbling around us. "I can't do this, Everly. Our marriage is meant to be exclusive, built on trust and commitment." I replied, the weight of the decision settling on my shoulders. "If this is the path you want, then maybe we need to reconsider what we mean to each other." As the words lingered, an uncomfortable silence descended upon us, punctuated only by the distant hum of the refrigerator. The foundation of our marriage, once seemingly unshakable, now cracked and splintered under the strain of Everly's revelation. The reality of a decision loomed, and with a heavy heart, I realized that our journey might be careening towards an unforeseen and painful destination. The revelation of Everly's desire for an open marriage hung over our home like a storm cloud, casting a shadow on the dwindling intimacy that had been our sanctuary. The aftermath of her confession echoed through the hallways, leaving an unsettling atmosphere that refused to dissipate. Days turned into nights, and I couldn't shake off the echoes of betrayal from the past. The memories of her previous infidelity lingered like ghosts, haunting the corners of our shared space. It was in this tense ambience that I stumbled upon the unsettling truth. "Who are you texting, Everly?" I asked one evening, my voice a mixture of curiosity and unease as I caught her engrossed in her phone. "Just a coworker," she replied nonchalantly, a forced smile playing on her lips. "Work stuff, you know." The skepticism in my eyes must have been apparent. "Work stuff, huh?" I pressed, my concern escalating. Everly's attempt at reassurance faltered, and she sighed. "Look, I know you have trust issues because of what happened before, but I've been trying to be transparent with you. We're just friends." Despite her words, a knowing doubt crept in. The specter of past infidelity lingered, intensifying my paranoia. "I need to trust you, Everly," I said, my voice strained. "But things are different now, and I can't help but wonder if history is repeating itself." A fleeting expression of guilt flashed across her face, quickly masked by defensiveness. "You can't keep bringing up the past. I'm allowed to have friends, and you need to trust me." Her attempt to deflect the conversation only deepened the chasm between us. The following days saw a growing distance, with Everly withdrawing into her own world. The intimacy we once shared dissipated, replaced by an unspoken tension. One evening, I confronted her again, unable to bear the weight of suspicion. "Tell me the truth, Everly. Are you being honest with me?" I pleaded, desperation lacing my words. Her eyes met mine, evading the intensity of the question. "You're being paranoid, and it's driving us apart," she retorted, her frustration bubbling to the surface. The echoes of betrayal reverberated through our conversations, leaving wounds that refused to heal. The fragility of trust hung in the balance, and I grappled with the realization that our marriage might be hurtling toward a point of no return. In the wake of Everly's unsettling revelation about an open marriage and the echoes of past betrayal, a pervasive sense of suspicion drove me to uncover the truth lurking in the shadows of our shared life. I couldn't escape the feeling that there was more to her interactions with a coworker than met the eye. As the weeks unfolded, a growing urgency pushed me to investigate further. One day, while Everly was occupied with her daily routine, I seized the opportunity to delve into her digital world. My fingers trembled as I accessed her email, a breach of privacy driven by the need for answers. The messages that unfolded on the screen were a damning confirmation of my fears. Plans for a clandestine rendezvous, coded language implying a betrayal that cut through the core of our already fractured marriage. The weight of the evidence pressed on my chest, and the word divorce resurfaced in my mind, a painful acknowledgement that our journey might be careening towards an irreversible end. Confrontation lingered on the horizon, but instead I chose to gather my thoughts and contemplate the path ahead. In the quiet of our home, the truth hung heavy, a tangible force that strained the very fabric of our shared history. Days turned into nights as I grappled with the decision to reveal my discovery. The weight of the emails bore down on me, and I wondered if confronting Everly would only deepen the chasm between us. But the desire for transparency, for an honest confrontation, won over my internal struggles. The opportunity presented itself one evening when Everly returned from work. The air crackled with tension as I broached the subject, my voice heavy with a mixture of hurt and anger. "I found the emails, Everly. The plans to meet, the betrayal," I declared, unable to mask the pain in my eyes. Her reaction was a blend of shock and guilt, a fleeting moment of realization that the facade was crumbling. "I can explain," she stammered, her voice shaky, as she struggled to find words that could undo the damage. My gaze remained fixed, demanding an explanation. "Explain. After everything, Everly," I replied, my voice steady, fueled by the hurt that ran deep. "This isn't a mistake. It's a conscious decision to betray our marriage." In the charged silence that followed, the reality of her deceit hung in the air, an unspoken acknowledgement that our journey had reached a precipice. The decision to confront the truth marked the beginning of a painful unraveling, where the bonds we had once shared were now replaced by the jagged edges of a betrayal that seemed impossible to mend. The revelation of Everly's betrayal propelled me into a tumultuous whirlwind of emotions. As I grappled with the weight of her deceit, a newfound determination to protect myself and prepare for the inevitable divorce took hold. With the evidence of her infidelity burning in my hands, I confronted the daunting decision to either hire a private investigator or take matters into my own hands. The latter seemed the most personal route, a journey through the labyrinth of our shared history, searching for the threads that would untangle our entwined lives. Amidst the chaos of emotions, I took meticulous steps to secure my financial future, recognizing the necessity of safeguarding myself from the storm that lay ahead. The credit cards, once intertwined in our shared expenses, became the first battleground. With a heavy heart, I removed Everly as an authorized user, severing one of the last remaining financial connections between us. My gaze shifted to the practicalities of life. I discreetly began searching for a new place to live, a haven where I could rebuild my life without the specter of Everly's betrayal haunting every corner. Each call to potential landlords and every visit to a prospective home underscored the reality of my impending separation. One evening, the tension between us reached a breaking point, and Everly confronted me about the changes she sensed but couldn't fully comprehend. "Why are you removing me from the credit cards? What's going on?" she demanded, her eyes a mix of confusion and frustration. I met her gaze, the weight of the decision settling in my chest. "We're heading towards a divorce, Everly. I need to protect myself financially," I confessed, the words heavy with the acknowledgement of our irreparable rupture. Her eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and perhaps regret. "Divorce? Is that really where we are now?" she asked, her voice tinged with an unexpected vulnerability. I nodded, the gravity of the situation weighing down on both of us. "Your choices have consequences, Everly. I can't continue down this path of betrayal. It's time for me to move forward." The following days were a whirlwind of practicalities as I continued my preparations for the impending divorce. Conversations with lawyers, consultations about the division of assets, and the exploration of a new life without Everly occupied my every waking moment. The journey towards a life beyond our shared history had begun, and with each step, I felt the weight of decision and determination to reclaim my sense of self. In the wake of my discovery and the subsequent preparations for divorce, a palpable tension permeated our home. The weight of my marriage, now a burden too heavy to bear, pressed down on me as I faced the decision to make it official. My resolve solidified, knowing that our journey had reached a point of no return. One evening, the atmosphere hung thick with the inevitability of our separation. Everly, sensing the storm brewing, broke the silence that had settled between us. "What's happening, Oliver? We can't keep living like this," she implored, her eyes reflecting a mix of desperation and uncertainty. I met her gaze, the decision to end our 2-decade journey weighing heavily on my shoulders. "Everly, our marriage is meant to be built on trust, commitment, and love. But your actions have eroded that foundation, and I can't continue down this path," I explained, the words resonating with a finality that seemed to echo through our home. Tears welled in her eyes, and she pleaded, "Can't we try counseling?" anything to salvage what we had. I sighed, the pain of the decision etched on my face. I tried to forgive you once before, but this time feels different. The trust is broken, Everly. It's time to accept that and move forward separately. The silence that followed was deafening, a heavy acknowledgement that our marriage, once a sanctuary, had become a battlefield. The decision to divorce loomed, and I felt a mix of sadness and relief as the words, "I want a divorce," hung in the air. In the days that followed, the practicalities of ending a marriage took precedence. Conversations with lawyers unfolded, and I navigated the complexities of asset division and the unraveling of shared lies. The decision was a painful one, but as I signed the divorce papers, I recognized it as a step towards reclaiming my sense of self and ultimately my happiness. The courtroom became the stage for our final act, a symbolic arena where the judge became the arbiter of our fate. Everly, having been served with the reality of our broken vows, expressed a desire to sever ties and move on. The judge, a silent witness to the demise of a 21-year marriage, granted the divorce, marking the end of an era. As I walked away from the courtroom, the weight on my shoulders lifted, replaced by the rawness of a new beginning. The decision, painful as it was, marked a chapter's end and the opening of a new narrative, one where I could rebuild, heal, and rediscover the person I had lost in the wreckage of a love betrayed. With the divorce papers signed and the judge's final decree echoing in the chambers of our shared history, the weight of a 21-year marriage lifted. The courtroom became the stage where the curtain fell on a love once unbreakable, now shattered by betrayal and irreparable wounds. 2 months passed, and the echoes of my wife's affair resonated in the silence of our now empty home. Everly's affair partner, it seemed, had returned to his spouse, leaving her devastated in the wake of her own choices. The revelation of his departure came in the form of a phone call from Everly, a desperate plea that pierced through the detachment I had built. "I made a mistake, Oliver," her voice trembled over the phone. "He left me and I don't know what to do. Can we talk?" The words hung in the air, a stark contrast to the resolve I had mustered to move on. "Everly, we're divorced. You made your choices, and now you have to face the consequences." I replied, my voice firm, but tinged with a sadness that mirrored the unraveling of our shared past. Weeks later, she called again, this time with a mother's voice on the other end. "My mom told me about your divorce. Can we meet for coffee? There's something I want to talk to you about," she said, a mix of apprehension and vulnerability in her tone. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want to talk about, Everly?" She took a deep breath before replying, "I want to discuss the possibility of getting back together. I've realized my mistakes and I want to try again." My response was measured, the wounds of betrayal still fresh. "Why would I consider that, Everly? You broke my heart more than once. I can't let that happen again." A couple of weeks later, her mother reached out with a different tone, one laden with concern. "Everly got arrested for DUI, and her real estate license is in jeopardy. She's struggling, Oliver," she confessed. It had been 3 weeks since her mother's call, and the silence that followed spoke volumes. The choices Everly made, both personally and professionally, left her navigating the consequences of her actions alone. The freedom I sought in separation allowed me to focus on rebuilding my life, leaving behind the wreckage of a marriage that crumbled under the weight of betrayal. As the days turned into weeks, I found solace in the newfound independence that separation granted me. The scars of a love betrayed began to heal, and the rawness of emotion gradually gave way to a sense of liberation. The first-time poster on a forum, I reflected on the support received, the legal advice, and the shared stories that offered solace in the tumultuous aftermath of divorce. "I am a free man," I type, the words a testament to the resilience found in the aftermath of heartbreak. The story of my marriage unfolded in chapters of betrayal, separation, and the pursuit of personal liberation. In the end, the forum became a space to share, reflect, and thank those who had become unexpected allies in the journey towards a life untangled from the echoes of a love that had once been everything. Thank you for listening to the story to the end, and if you like it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you